Hello everyone, my name is Eric. I'm a gamer who loves guns, firearms, collecting, and shooting sports. And in today's video we have this beautiful piece of hardware up for discussion. This is the American-made MP5 clone, the PTR 9C. This is not the brand new H&K SP5. Full disclosure, I've wanted to get an SP5 for the longest time. Pretty much as soon as they were announced that they were coming back to the country with in-country made, genuine HK MP5 clones, I was very excited. I didn't have the means to obtain one back when they were first brought back to the country. Now that I do, we're in the middle of the great panic buy of 2020 and 2021. And unfortunately, the only SP5Ks and SP5s I was able to find in stock were frankly insanely overpriced by scalpers on Gunbroker. $3,000 for a genuine HK SP5 I think is just on the edge of being fair. It's a little bit high, but you know, that's the whole HK tax for everything. And full disclosure, this gun does not escape the HK tax, actually. There's still a lot of interesting things about it that are more expensive than they should be, but we can get to that later. Anyway, so this gun did come out before H&K brought the MP5s back into America, and to be fair, it was probably a lot more interesting then. Now that the genuine article is out there, why would anyone consider buying this clone? Well, it's got a few actual compelling reasons. First off, if you're a utilitarian, the PTR 9C and 9CT, which has a threaded barrel, which is another interesting feature we'll talk about in a second, they both come standard from the factory without this traditional fat MP5 handguard. They actually come with a M-lock rail that attaches in the exact same method as the fat handguard, but that M-lock rail does add a bit of utilitarianism to what is, granted, a very aged design. That will allow you to mount lights if you want to use it for home defense, a hand stop or a vertical grip if you wish to go ahead and SBR this thing. And that is a utilitarian feature. Now, I stripped my M-lock handguard off because, first of all, for me, this is a gun that I purchased mostly for the cool factor of an MP5, and so I want it to look like an MP5. It is not going to be a primary member of my general defense setup. I have other guns that are more utilitarian for that are more purpose-built for that. This is more of a pure joy of ownership gun for me, which is why I'm trying to keep it as relatively bare as I can. However, if you did want to use this gun seriously, you absolutely could. You know, the MP5K's history and service record is damn near flawless. And despite this being an American-made clone that's a little bit rough around the edges in some areas, it is a MP5 at its core. It's got the exact same roller locking system, exact same engineering and design. It's just built here. And actually it's built in, let me see, South Carolina. So, is it as good as an HK SP5? No. And what I mean by that is not in its reliability or in its function. You can see some areas where either they cut corners or they just didn't have the same level of expertise in building these guns. And that is mostly visible in the welds of the firearm. If you compare a PTR 9C or a 9CT to a genuine SP5, there will be visible welds where the receiver was assembled that will not be visible on the actual H&K. So that is maybe a little bit of a time saver, maybe a little bit of just a way for them to get the cost down. But that is a genuine and relatively consistent flaw that these have. Now, does that bother me? No, not at all. Not at all. The welds are perfectly strong. Them being visible doesn't really, actually, in my opinion, hurt the overall aesthetics of the weapon unless you really are a perfectionist. And especially when you can get that same exact roller delay blowback feature that is what made this gun so famous for a substantially lower price than the H&K SP5K. It's still a very compelling offer. So, there are some areas though, like I said, with that M-LOK handguard if you're utilitarian, and also with this Picatinny rail. So PTR welds a Picatinny rail onto the top of their receivers. There's a cutout here exposed for the serial number, but if you wanted to mount an optic on an H&K SP5, you would have to use either a claw mount or some other low mount that attaches onto the top of the receiver. That has the potential to mar the receivers. Some of them are worse than others, and they're also another expensive part on an already very expensive platform. This is a great feature. It's very utilitarian. For me personally, I wish they had a model without this, just because I'm more interested in a classic MP5. That's why I haven't put any sights on here. It's not that I don't have spare sights to throw on here, it's that I'm more interested in shooting this as it came sort of out of the 80s. So that's why I have the diopter sights and pretty much nothing else on here. Now, this does come from the factory with genuine diopter sights. They don't have the cutout sort of CQC sights that the SP5 brought over from the MP5K. So that is another little price saver that's already on the gun that you don't need to change out. One area where you will eat some additional cost is in a brace. The PTR 9C and 9CT ship with an end cap that has a sling swivel and no brace. Now end caps are incredibly easy to replace. You pop out this pin here, you slide it off, you slide on a new one. It's a very easy process. It's easier than changing the buffer tube on an AR by far. However, you know, I told you how you can't escape the HK tax even with this weapon. This brace, this collapsing brace, is very strong. It's very well made. It's made by SB Tactical, which is the king of braces, more or less, really. This is over $300. I don't know why it has to be that expensive. I understand that maybe this end cap and locking system is hard to produce. I get that. That is a lot of money for a collapsible brace. I think the MPX and MP and MCX collapsible braces are in the $100 to $200 range. I haven't actually looked those up. Maybe they are $300, but just the shell shock when I wanted to put this on there, I was like, oh, okay, I've already spent a fair bit on this weapon system, and to get a brace designed for it that I was interested in, this collapsible one, was a lot more cash. I believe there is also the traditional folding UMP style brace that also has an end cap attachment. That one is cheaper, but that was out of stock at the time, and also I do think it looks a lot worse than this collapsible brace does here. Aside from that, we've pretty much covered most of the gun. Oh, one more thing. Yeah, so if you have the PTR 9CT, I only have the 9C, but you have the 9CT version, in addition to the tri-lug suppressor mounting system that these have, you will also have a removable thread protector up here that covers 1/2 by 28 threads. So you could attach more standardized suppressors aside from just your 3-lug. Like I said, I didn't go for that. I was more interested in keeping it as close to the original as I could, because for me this is a collector's piece. Will I shoot it a lot? Yes, I will. But I am more interested in keeping it as more of a genuine MP5 than making it an incredibly practical or an incredibly kitted out weapon. That's just me. So let's go ahead and try the accuracy. Now the barrel is nitrided on these, I believe. It's not cold hammer forged chrome lined. To me, that's not really a big deal, especially because we're firing 9mm, and even at really high volumes, I don't see you really shooting out this barrel. And besides, I think nitriding is kind of underrated. I understand the cold hammer forged chrome lining has a long history, but nitriding is pretty damn good too. I have no complaints doing nitriding. So let's go ahead. Let's shoot a 9-shot group at 50 yards, and let's see what the accuracy of this nitrided barrel is out of this 8-inch MP5 clone. Okay, 9-shot group at 50 meters. Didn't fully go into battery there. So I think that might be an issue with this magazine. Let me see something here. Not sure the total round count in this magazine, and we do reload if we have to. I've noticed that with this magazine, when I do the HK slap, when it's on the bullets on the left side, it doesn't want to close on me, so that closed. Yeah, I think that might be a magazine issue we got going on there. Okay. Alright, we went to that magazine. I think that was 10 shots instead of 9, but I do think this magazine has some issues. This is a Korean magazine, so let's go and take a look and see what we did. What's that? Okay, so overall we actually did pretty good. That's that's 9mm out of an 8-inch barrel at 50 yards. We're kind of already at the operational edge of what this cartridge is really viable at. So we have 2 shots out in the 9 ring, and the rest are in the 10 and 11. So I mean, I don't know, about a 5-inch group, maybe 6 if you include the flyers. So for a PTW at 50 yards in a pistol cartridge, that's not bad. Now granted, I am not the best shot in the world. I was not firing off of a bag or a bench. So a better shooter and a more stable setup could potentially yield better results. I was also just using those diopter iron sights, so there's lots of ways I think you could tighten this up. But either way, I think that's perfectly adequate for the ranges that gun's going to be used at. I think that's actually a pretty good group. Okay, so I went and recovered some of the brass that we just shot, and I did verify that the PTR 9C does in fact have a fluted chamber. Let's see if we can get this to focus in on that there. There you go. You can see how it's floating, that cartridge with the cuts in the chamber, pouring gas right over it, helping with extraction. So that's good to see. That is on brand for roller delay firearms. Yeah, I would say aside from the magazine issues, I think it was this guy that was having the magazine issues. I'm pretty happy with this so far. The magazines I am using are Korean steel mags. They were like 40 bucks, so the fact that one of them might have an issue is kind of frustrating. But I still think that this overall, I'm quite happy with my purchase. Now, this is not a recommendation. I have not shot nearly enough rounds to do a full review, but on first impressions, I mean, it's solid, it's solid. When shooting precision there, the trigger, it reminds me a lot of a Glock trigger, where it's got that take up and then the wall and then kind of a spongy break. It's not great, but it allowed me to stack right against that wall whenever I was ready to shoot next again, and I could very easily predict when I was going to fire next. I think all in all is a passable trigger. I might look into getting the Franklin Armory binary in here and seeing how that one runs. But yeah, let's just do some more shooting, maybe go after some steel, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, here we go. We're gonna do 3 magazines and just see if we can run through it all. HK slap time. One magazine. Obviously, I'm not filling them up full because of the ammo shortage. That might not have shapered. Let's see. Yep. All right. I think that's our problem magazine right there. Let's just try and burn it fast for a second, shall we? Alright. I'm going to need to label these magazines because I want to make sure that it's just that issue. Alright, she's empty. There we go, everyone. That was the PTR 9C. Let me know what you guys thought of this video. This is not full review, just sort of a first shots overview, taking a look at it. And yeah, so for everyone keep my watch, thank you all so much. I appreciate you. Check out my Twitch, it'll be linked down in the description below. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Bye. Randos do suck, yeah.
Fuck randos.
Only if they consent, Andrew. Otherwise, it's how you go to jail.
I'll take my chances.
There's only more randos in jail.
Hey!
I'm going to hell.
I can see the truth. No, you don't have to lie.